my phone here, and I'll look it up and see if we're live. I guess. Let's take a look.
It says live. You could always just have your phone recorded as well, you know.
Oh, dope. Okay, looks like we're live, man.
Okay.
Sick. Thanks for being so patient with me, dude.
It's cool.
Yeah, technology, man. Me and technology, we just don't get together. Really, we butt heads. Well, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You want to do a little introduction of your which
Of
day are we on?
course.
Yes,
Of
which day are we
course.
on? Yeah.
Man, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. Jan. I don't know. Like, how would you introduce yourself? Like, are you pretty versatile with that sort of thing?
I've had a little practice with the Hawks. So I would say I'm Jan. I'm an artist from Holland, and I'm living in Barcelona after many years in London and Bogota, Colombia. And I have done the 100 Days of Making Comics a number of times. And this time, there's a whole new generation, of which Clayton right here is a member. And you are on which day are you right now?
Dang. I'm on 82 right now. So
Day
yeah.
82. So you're making progress. You're hitting the curve.
Some days it doesn't feel that way, but yeah, I'm making progress. Totally.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, I feel I gotta air this out. I've been a big fan of yours. Mostly through like your last 100-day challenge.
Yes.
Like right away, like your sci-fi adventure comic book Phosphor, like I was sold right away. Just because your
That's
art is
cool.
so dope. And what kept me coming back was like seeing your improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Was so like I could see that almost day by day. I could see this improvement in your work, and it was like exciting to watch. That's why I was like, oh man, you're probably one of my favorite YouTubers out there. And favorite artists, I mean, I'm so pumped for Phosphor. It's crazy. Like, that's why I got to air this out, because I feel like sometimes I've gotten to the fanatic stage. And if that ever comes across, I'm sorry. Like,
that's okay.
That's just how it works, I think.
That's okay.
Sometimes.
One of the things that's funny, like when you do the 100 days, and like, you know, because we're all amateurs in our own way. There's a couple of us who do pretty well as artists, but like I myself, you know, I'm in my own little bubble. You know, I have an office job that I walk to every day. I'm on the phone all day with clients, and then when I get home, you know, if I'm not completely burnt out, you know, usually at about 9 or 10, I grab a page and I just start drawing a little bit, you know. So, and of course, I am active on social media as Yanimal, but I don't know, like in this past year, I don't know if it's all the shenanigans with what Facebook has been up to, but like I feel like social media is not quite as exciting to me, at least, as it used to be. And so, you know, like I make less videos. I do I try and get by, you know, like I still try and find the enjoyment, but it's not that like I don't know, like that overwhelming constantly being on your phone. Like you see everyone do these days. Like everyone is constantly on their phone. And I'm like, I don't want to be constantly on my phone anymore, man. So yeah, but then what happens is that you lose that like you lose a lot of feedback, right?
Oh yeah.
So I feel like I'm more and more in my bubble, and the advantage is that I actually get way more stuff done than like when you're online, you don't get stuff done, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
like doing a video every day, I know that takes up time.
Yes.
I know that takes up time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has its advantages as well. I was kind of surprised. I thought it was going to be just kind of a drag, but I mean, it has its advantages. But
No, well, if you look at it from the 100 days of making comics challenge thing, like the whole having to keep yourself accountable, like you know, there's some people who just do it on Instagram, but for myself, like the whole video thing was very helpful. But once the 100 days is done, like the
Yeah.
relief of not having to put a video out every day
Yeah.
is enormous, you know. And like lately, like I said, like lately, I've just been like stepping away a little bit more and more from the internet and just focusing on just doing the job because you know it has to get done. Like this comic
Yeah.
book has to be finished, and it's like, you know, it's like right here, but you know, we're getting there.
Dude, that's exciting, dude.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I'm excited. I'm so excited for Phosphor. So, like, for as long as I've watched your videos, which I don't know, it, did you just um, did you always broadcast your 100 days of making comics on YouTube, or was that just like your last run?
No, I've always done it.
Oh,
Like I was inspired by Kevin Cross and by Ox, of course, Samurai Ox, and you know, like you, like Marshall, like you end up finding all these people, Gasbot, and at some point, I can't even remember who said what, but or maybe it was just a repeated mantra of like, you know, it's just half an hour a day, and at some point, I just felt like I didn't have the excuse of not doing it, but I also felt like, I mean, we're talking like 2015.
yeah,
I also kind of felt like, you know, I have to put myself in front of a camera. Like, it's the thing I dread the most. Like, I don't want to be on social media like that. And at the same time, I realized very much like, if you're serious as an artist, you know, you just in your little room, like, you have to put your stuff out. Like, you can't, you know, like what there's this thing that they say like you can't just hide in the attic perfecting your art and never show it to anyone because it's not done yet. You know, you have to get it out and you have to put yourself out. And when you watch art videos, like I don't know about you, but like I love watching time lapses. But whenever the actual artist appears on screen, I notice I myself, you know, like listen up. Like I'm like, oh wait, that's the actual
dude.
person. Like, you know what I mean? Like you pick up and you like, because we're human beings and we just get way more done that way, you know, rather than just watching a hand with a pencil. So
100%.
yeah,
That's why I don't do that many like time lapses. I just don't enjoy watching those sort of videos as much.
yeah,
Um, and it's a little bit of work. I mean, and like I'm not used to like recording myself drawing, so it's like
yeah,
another level of like pressure almost. I don't know. It's weird to talk about, but uh,
yeah,
yeah, that's why I loved your videos so much. Is just because like um, what you do is something like you don't really do tutorials. You go past the
no,
tutorials and you're talking about the stuff that I feel is like really important. You know, like your process, your experience, you know, and that's something that identify with like right
yeah,
away. Um, and it's always awesome to see like your progress and stuff. Um, man, dude, I have so many questions to ask you. Like, it's hard to like figure out
shoot,
which one I should.
shoot,
We should.
yeah. I mean, when it comes to tutorials, it's not that I'm opposed to it, but like you see so many art channels which are for other artists, and it's not that I don't enjoy them, I do, but I didn't have the desire to make them, you know, like I think it's a certain kind of person who wants to teach. um, I do feel like every now and again like stuff just comes out naturally where you just go like, oh well, I guess this is how I do it, let me just, you know, like I want to talk about how I'm doing this thing. But like the whole um, how to draw, like yeah, I don't really do those, and I feel like that market is well catered to, you know, like
Oh, definitely.
yeah, and like to
And
each their own.
plus,
So
like I think that's really useful for beginners and for kids that want
yeah,
to draw. Like for most of the people that
yeah,
are on YouTube or whatever. Um, but
it
you get to a
depends. Like
point where you're like, oh,
yeah,
you know,
but
like
I
I
do
want to watch
find
something different. But yeah,
what I do find like that's actually a very good point. Like it tends to cater more to beginners because whenever I look for something very specific, like inking wise, like I'm always shocked like how few inking videos you can find.
mm,
You know, like there's certain kinds of how to make comic book stuff like that really digs in deep, that is very hard to find in a like how to do something video setting. You know, like you might
Yeah.
find it in a vlog, but like when you simply want the answer to a question, and YouTube is great for that. There's been tons of stuff. Like for example, like one thing that I've always like how to clean brushes properly and like what to use, you know,
Yeah.
like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or at some point I found out like when you draw with quills, like with one of these, like there are artists they use knives to clean them, and I'm like,
Oh, really?
yeah, and I'm like, what do you use the knife for? Like I don't understand. Like you use the knife to clean it, you know, and
Did
I'm like,
they wait until the ink dries on it and then scrape it off or something
yeah,
like
but like,
that?
yeah, but like that's the thing, and I'm like these are all like things where I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about, you know,
Yeah.
and then you can't find out, you know, so because it just gunks up, and then every while you just break it off, you know, so yeah, there's tons of fun stuff like that. So
But let's see. So like your comic book Phosphor
yes,
is a sci-fi adventure comic book. Could you tell us a little bit about it? Like I know a lot about it, but could you tell us a little bit about it and like how the idea like originally came across your mind and how the ideas like evolved over time?
so the comic book as it is right now is very much a like black and white science fiction comic book with a very large cast on a ship going off on an adventure. Um, it's very much in the vein of movies that I love, like Alien and The Thing, and that's kind of like when it comes to the origin of Phosphor. Phosphor originally, like this is an old character of mine from like like when I was a teenager, um, and it was very much a superhero kind of comic book character. But what I wanted for that character was, like I wanted him to have like a certain kind of suit of armor, to beat up the bad guys that, like very Batman-esque. Um, but I wanted his powers, if you will, of the suit, and I wanted everything to be explained. And I found that when you put it in a city, like a big city, like say New York, it wouldn't quite fit. And it made me realize that a lot of the crime fighting superheroes really stem from a particular time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and at some point, I came across documentaries about New York City, what it was like in the 60s and 70s, and how much violence it was. And all of a sudden, like, wow, like, so all those 60s and 70s crime fighting superheroes, fantasies, all of a sudden make a lot more sense,
Mm.
and so they make a lot less sense nowadays, unless, of course, you give them their own city, like Batman has Gotham. Then you can do
Exactly.
whatever
That's what I
you,
was
yeah.
thinking of. Yeah, yeah.
So at some point, because at the time, I was playing a lot of video games, I started thinking of it more like less of a comic book and more of like if I could have some kind of Spider-Man like character, but not Spider-Man. I wouldn't want him to be in New York City. I wanted him to be in a science fiction city that would require him to move around the city like a science fiction Spider-Man would, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of became Phosphor. But then as time moved on, and time became, the odd decade here or there, um, your interests change, and like it becomes one of those like old dreams that one day you will accomplish, and it never happens. And so at some point when it came time to sit down, and I decided like, okay, I want to get this out of my system. I want to make a comic book. I still have that story very fondly in the back of my mind,
Mm.
but my first 100 days then began with okay, this is not going to work. Like this whole superhero, very vague city and like what it's all about. But I did have ideas about how the suit worked. And when I started tracing that back in my mind, like how I originally intended it, I realized like, well, if I just focus on the very beginning of the origin of the suit and what it was originally intended for, and then at some point I had that aha moment where I'm like, oh my God, like Like what I really just want to do is like my version of Alien, like this shape shifting type thing, biomechanical armor that was designed as a weapon, and then people who have nothing to do with it stumble upon it and like have to try and survive it.
Hmm.
And that kind of became this origin story. And then once I had that, I just forgot about all the superhero stuff and all the sci-fi city stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's just a ship with a whole range of characters, and they're gonna encounter something, and it's going to start killing them off one by one, and then what? But because it's a comic book series, um, and of course I'm trying to keep it like relatively short, but it's not like I'm not trying to tell a story in like 90 minutes or 120 minutes.
Yeah.
So I can stretch it out a little bit so we can spend way more time with the characters first before they actually make this discovery, and then the meat of the story is, how are we going to survive this thing, right? And what is like, where are we? Like in Alien, they're on the ship. They're on the ship for like 5 minutes, and I
Yeah.
always thought, like as a kid, like growing up, like that was the most exciting part, like the discovery of an alien vessel. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how Phosphor evolved over time, and so now I'm actually drawing this comic book, and it's taken its sweet time. Because of course like mission creep sets in, and you start expanding and expanding, and like you get carried away with writing the story before you actually. So there's all this stuff that I realized I had to learn about making comic books that I just didn't know how to do. I've always drawn, but like storytelling is something completely different. So there's
Yeah.
tons of stuff that just slowed me down.
And well, I can imagine there's tons like if I tried, I mean, I love sci-fi as a genre, right? But if
Mm-hmm.
someday I'd love to write some genre piece, like a sci-fi piece like that. But um, I can imagine it being just a whole nother level of difficulty because um, you're working with a world where you don't have a lot of reference, you know.
Yeah.
Um, like say you did kind of like a superhero comic book set in a city, at least you might live near a city that you can go and sketch some stuff out, or
Yeah.
you can look online city landscapes and that sort of stuff. But like a sci-fi world, like you have to build and create yourself,
True.
and that's a whole nother level that I feel like that's why I think Phosphor is really exciting, because I see in all of your drawings, all of your pages, I see that work that you've put in to the actual world,
Yeah.
and it's stunning, dude. It's like really exciting. Um, is that something that you've just kind of built on over time, um, or is that something that you like set out right at the get go? Like, I need to build this ship, so I'm gonna create it from the ground up, sort of thing.
Um, well, it's a little bit of both, because I had the science fiction city in the back of my mind from way back when, and so where they are in this world, from like I know that, right? But I have to make that clear in the story. One of the problems with science fiction in general is is precisely what you just said. Like you have to build out this whole world, and you have to draw people into this whole world. And so some people say that this is actually one of the reasons why science fiction, as in otherworldly spacefaring science fiction, has a lot less fans than other genres, because you first have to explain the whole world, right?
Yeah,
And that's a lot of work for the reader, not just for the writer. It's also a lot of work for the reader to learn about the world, and not everyone is into that, right? Um, but what I try and do with the ship and with these people is ground it in things that we know. So that this first comic book is very much about their daily routine, like just getting to work and doing the job, because that's something we can all relate to. And the ship, even though it's a science fiction setting, um, like there's not going to be some kind of weird fusion drive on it, and it's not even like a
yeah,
spaceship in the regular sense of the word. It's nothing like that at all. Like what the ship actually is will be revealed as I pull back the camera, so to speak. But the technology is like, I don't want to say like, I don't want to say steampunk, but it's very industrial, you know, like heavy machinery stuff that we recognize. We've just not seen it the size of a building moving around like this. You know, like that is something we don't get to see very often. But how it's built is something that you know from train stations, from, you know, factories. You know, that's where I draw it from. You know.
And looking at your work, it totally makes sense because it's a future technology, I feel like, but in the world of Phosphor, it's old and it's
Yeah.
beat up and it's, you know, dirty. And I love that aspect about it, like, a lot, because that grounds that technology right away, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
very chunky and clunky, and you know, like all those things. And it's what we like. That's kind of what we got from Star Wars, you know, like, and from Alien, where it's they're lived in worlds. They're not clean Star Trek with sliding. You know, okay, so they may have sliding doors, but you know, someone
yeah,
might bump their head on their way out. You know, so I want that same. I want a very dirty factory feel for Phosphor, because that's the world they live in. You know, and so yeah, so like later on in the story, when like people are presented with different choices, you could also understand why some of them are so desperate to do the things that they do, because they want out. Like they want out of this world. It's not comfortable, you know, like they want a better life. So
yeah.
they're willing to sacrifice others for that.
Oh, geez. And that raises another question. You have so many cool, like, really unique characters. Um, like, how do you like manage a cast like that? You know, not in just like creating a cast like that,
Yeah.
but like, how do you decide uh, like which characters you're going to be focusing on when you're thinking about your
Um,
story?
that was the cast is like everyone who appears in the first comic book, or who has just like, even if it's like one line of dialogue, like I counted all of them, and I realized I was over 20, and that's when I actually realized, like, holy, like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
You know. um, but the majority of characters are there because someone needed to fill a role, you know. So you know, you have a ship, so you have someone who's the captain. Like you have a ship, you have someone who's a pilot. um, you know, they're it's the equivalent of being out to sea, so there should probably be a doctor, right?
right.
There's people who have to do the cleaning. There's people who have to do, you know, there's probably someone in a cantina who has to cook the food for everyone. So there's all these
Mm.
roles that I just started writing down and just started sketching people for. And then once I did that, I'm like, well, if someone is the captain, like, what would be my take on a captain? Like, am I just going to do like a tough guy kind of thing, or is there a reason for him to want to do the things that he wants to do? Like, and so then I thought, you know, like typical office politics that I've seen a million times, where it's different people of management fighting against each other, but some of them are new and younger. And so you get this, like, you get all these, you know, like office politics that is very recognizable. And I'm like, yeah, but if you put that on a ship like that, you know, like, then we all know what it's about, but at the same time, it feels fresh because, you know, you're not in an office. And it's the same, like there has to be a workforce. And I remember reading these stories about um, like modern day slave trade, but in Brazil, like right now,
Mm.
you know, where people are like old school medieval indenture, you know, where it's
Wow.
like, well, we can get you a job, we'll just take you there. Oh, what do you know, the trip cost this much money, now you're going to have to pay me back, and
Jeez.
you're not really getting
Yeah.
paid any money, so you're going to be here for a long time. Like that kind of trickery, you know, where people just get stuck on these farms in the middle of the Amazon. And I, like, as repulsive as it is, I also found that very fascinating. Where it's like, oh my god, like, could you just imagine, like, someone promises you a job, and then you're just in the middle of the Amazon, and you can't run away, you know,
Yeah.
like it's this kind of stuff where I'm like, and so I thought, like, for a workforce, I'm like, well, what if I take that story, but like, you know, they're like these kids in rags, you know, like very what do you call it, like that, totally forgot his name now, but super famous English author from like 100 years ago.
I'm not sure.
He wrote Fagin.
What? No, no, dude, I'm super not well read, so.
Okay, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's gonna come out any second.
Or just like
Um,
the minute we end the cast, you'll be like, oh,
oh, that's it. Yeah. Um, oh man, it's really on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, so it doesn't matter. But like, um, did you see that Blade Runner movie, the last one?
the newest one I have not actually. I've
Oh,
wanted to. It's
you
got Harrison
should.
Ford and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, he's hidden in there. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not really about him. You
yeah,
know, that movie's incredible. That
yeah.
is like
I need to check it out.
when you have time. But there's a scene in there where I was like, oh look, that's kind of like what I'm going for. Where there's a factory setting with a whole bunch of kids, and there's like this guy who's basically looking out for them, but really he's also putting them to work.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's totally what I'm kind of doing with these kids, where they're just, you know, recycling everything they come across and like filing it away in the hope that they can sell it off once they get to the port, type thing. You know, so yeah. But like, how did I come up with the cast? It's just something that they were just roles that needed to be filled in, and that's how I very quickly got so many. Um, and then I just started. I wanted to add my twists to it. You know, I wanted to like I wanted to give some of them a connection with the discovery that they were going to make, and like why they were keeping that a secret. Like I just wanted like it. I didn't want it to be a completely random thing. Like it had to be random, but not too random.
Mm.
And I had to have people who lead the reader into the story who themselves were kind of new to the situation, like fresh to the job, so to speak, or new on board. So you can kind of go along with that. But then that required a story as well. So I figured, well, the captain did something wrong, so now he's being investigated. So there's people on board doing the investigating.
Mm.
They're actually a bit younger than the captain, so that causes friction. But also he's under investigation, and then I'm like they have to investigate him, but at the same time you're in the middle of nowhere. So if you screw this guy over, you know, you're in the middle of nowhere too. So what's going to happen? So there's all this
Mm.
like stuff happening where you kind of like, yeah, I have to, and also like, you know, like if I fire you, then I have to take over, and then I'm stuck here. Like there's all this stuff that just started filling itself in very quickly, just because I was trying to fill the roles and I was trying to give it little twists along the way. You know?
Uh,
So,
See, that's
so
interesting. Like, and with so
yeah,
many characters, I mean, you have to have some favorites in there, right?
yeah.
Um, are there characters that uh, you're gonna see like you're hesitant to kill off because you like them so much, or are there characters in there that you can't wait to kill off because you just kind of hate them from a?
No. I am hesitant to kill off some, but I'm also like, maybe I should just almost do a roll of the dice where I just develop
Oh,
these stories,
yeah.
and to just keep it fresh for myself as I go down the path, just roll the dice and just be like, all right, you know, someone's going to have to go. And I won't be able to make this decision myself, so we'll just let chance decide. And then, okay, that person is gone. Let's go with it, you know?
And
Um,
like chances are it's all the good guys, like all your
it could
favorite
be.
characters.
It could be.
That'd be pretty
But
dope.
then, yeah, it could be. I also feel like it's a little bit of the influence of Game of Thrones, you know, where like you now want something that is not super predictable and that shocks you, and like, you know, like your favorite characters don't always make it, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and sometimes to see them go makes for a thrilling story, you know, even if it sucks. You know, sometimes if you keep certain favorite characters around, it doesn't necessarily make for a more exciting story, you know. And I think Game of Thrones really showed that, you know. I'm still upset about season one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my wife loves Game of Thrones, but I don't have that much time to watch TV as
Yeah.
much anymore. So I've caught like the story, just bits and pieces along the way. So
There's
um,
dragons.
and which sold, you know, and dragons. Is there going to be dragons in Phosphor? Is that
No,
another roll of the dice? Another roll of the dice? Like,
no,
oh, we're just going to
no.
add a dragon in here.
Yeah, I suppose I could. No, I don't think. I don't think there's going to be anything like that. I'm going to keep it a little bit on the science fiction, but like the sciencey
Oh
part
yeah.
rather than, you know. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Um, man, and that's one thing uh, that I really like about your work and Phosphor is like that dedication. Is that like the dedication to your work that can actually be seen by people, right? They can see it in your work like right away, whether they know you or not. Is that a sort of dedication that like it just comes natural to you? Like you grew up with this sort of like drive to improve, or is that something that you made a conscious effort? Um,
Um, I don't know. Like it's hard to judge that for myself because like I'm in my own little bubble and I'm just doing my stuff and I don't feel like I'm super dedicated. I have my day job and I like sometimes I don't draw. Like this week I've been very busy with like life stuff. You know, probably haven't drawn for like 3 days. Like this is the first day like I've got the cover book in front of me. You know, but I do have like when I look back, I have this like it's something that Jeff Lafferty, who's also part of the 100s, pointed out once in his videos that it's almost like an artist disease where you just have these projects always. Like you always have a project that you're trying to get out of your system that you just work on and that you slave away on and you put so many hours in and it's probably never going to amount to anything. You're probably never going to get paid for it, but you just obsess over it. And I do have that where I just sit down and, if I'm not careful, I just shut out the world and I will just not eat for like 10 hours and just draw, you know.
oh, yeah.
And then at some point it's like, I'm feeling really faint. Like I'm literally like, I feel really faint. Maybe I should have another coffee. And then it's like, no, maybe I should not have another coffee and actually have breakfast,
Yeah.
like these things happen. So yes, I am like that where, like, I don't think of it myself that way, but I do just like, you get into the swing of things and I just like every day I want to come home and I just have to have an hour rest and I talk to my girlfriend and then like I start picking up the paper and it's like, you just like, I just become a different person. Like I just have to do this thing, you know?
I think that's a
So,
good problem to have, man. Yeah.
well, once if it at some point would make a little bit of money, be full time, that'd be a better problem to have. So,
Oh,
but for now,
definitely.
like, but it's a great hobby. I think like I love watching the odd TV show, but when I think of like making stuff versus just consuming stuff, I think it's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's so much more enriching to develop your own story than to just you know. And there's a lot of great stories on Netflix, but it's just I only have time for one show a week. That's it.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you said hobby. Like I think people don't like artists don't really like that word these days. And I don't really understand why. I um
We take
like
ourselves very
I
seriously.
that's true. That's true. And I take myself seriously too, but I would say I'm a hobbyist for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really good thing because a hobbyist is doing it for the love of the craft. They're not doing it for recognition or for money or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, and in a lot of ways, I think professionals, well, in a lot of ways, I've lost that over the years for sure.
Mm.
Um, just the love of actually drawing. I mean, when I drew when I was a kid, it was like playing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I got to remind myself of that nowadays. But I just thought that was interesting. Um,
I find it's different at different periods in your life. You know, like at some point to say out loud, I am an artist or I am a writer, like in public, like this is what I do, even though you have a day job, can be very helpful. Like I found out myself, like it can actually be very helpful. Like, no, this is actually who I am, you know, to say that and to word it like that in public to other people for yourself. Um, but at some point, you know, for myself, it's also like I don't know, like I just you just meet a lot of people who get a little carried away with it, where you know they're like I've had friends who are like models and like you know like they're actors and it's like what's the last thing you've done? Ah, that's a number of years ago. You know, and it's like and people get carried away with these things and it's all okay, no one is getting hurt, but you know we shouldn't kid ourselves, like we should just like I have a day job and I've met other artists who quit the job where we were both working and they said like, well, you know, I have to get serious about this if I'm and I'm like, yes, I totally agree with you. But I like to have the security of a paycheck and I need that very much in order for me to focus on my art. Because if I don't have that, then all I'm gonna do is just worry myself and not get any art done, you know? And so different people have different psychological needs to kick themselves up the butt.
oh,
You know?
definitely, and I mean that's the state of reality, right? You got to live,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and as much as I would like to make a living with my art, and I've done that a little bit before as well. Uh, Personal projects are way more fulfilling to me than even
yeah,
like working in the art field um, on someone else's project.
yeah. It's. I
Um,
mean, I've done commissions and like people ask me to do stuff every now and again to help out, and I always find that very cool because you get deadlines and you always end up doing something that you're not accustomed to drawing, so it gets you out of your comfort zone. But yeah. Uh,
no,
Again, like different people need different things, you know, like to get going. So I'm
yeah,
quite content just sitting, making a comic book for a couple of years and just finishing it the way I want it. And like this is going to be totally my thing, you know, and so that I can say like, no, I made this thing, you know, and
and,
I'll just be happy with that. So
and your like vision is so unique. I feel like you must have like a lot of different influences, right?
yeah,
Um, but I can't pick out your art and say like, oh, Jan's art is like this guy's art, right? Like the closest that I could pick out is like maybe Mobius. I don't know if you've seen his like comic books or
of
artwork.
course, he's only one of
Um,
the most famous artists in Europe. I've
yeah,
seen his
and
stuff.
uh, he's in
But do you think
like,
that like, but I've actually said who my influences are at some point, you know.
and what are they like?
Um, Well, obviously there's loads and loads of influences, but like artists who I've always put on a pedestal where I'm like, I want to do that. Like what they do, I want to do that, you know? For me are like Eric Larson, Savage Dragon. Like I just love his comic book art. Like it's like pure, unadulterated, fun superhero comics. And like the way he inks and draws everything, like he does everything, you know, like it's his comic book, like he does everything, and it's freaking awesome, you know. I love that, and it's very playful. And then like when I was growing up, there was Arthur Adams, who I've then rediscovered as an adult, and he's changed his style quite a bit over the years. Like it's a lot more stylized, but he's still got it, you know. Like he's still like his composition and like his just his line art, like it's just so perfect every time, you know, with so few lines sometimes. And I can't stand that because I'm very like I want to render the hell out of it like a Mark Sylvester. I just want to like sketch in ink, you know. And then like artists like Travis Charest, who did Wildcats way back when.
See, I'm gonna have to look all these up, man. I'm gonna have to look them all
Okay,
up.
you probably like these are all artists who have had a big influence on whole generations of artists. Like if you don't know Arthur Adams, like you know so many people where you go like, oh, they draw like him. Like so, this is the guy they got it from, you know. And with Travis Charest, like when you look at his stuff from like now 15 years ago, there are so many artists that today that I still see where I'm like, that is totally like a Travis Charest thing, you know. That's totally a thing that he does. And I would say like his influence is the least on my work, but like I just love his stuff. You know, it's just there's a graphic design to his work that is just on my mind, like where I'm always like, because I'm much more of a sketchy, like I want to draw people and like, and he just designs pages, like just the layout where he's just like, how do you even come up with that? Like it's just so straightforward, and no one else does that. Now they do because he came around, you know. So yeah.
Oh man. Um, what do
What
you
about
think
your
was? Oh, what's that?
What about yourself? What are your big influences?
Um, I remember I picked up Jeff Smith's Bone
Yeah.
in high school, and that kind of changed comic books for me. Like I grew up reading a lot of Spider-Man, a lot of Batman, but I wasn't a huge fan of like superhero comic books. I'm still not, but Jeff Smith. When I read Bone, I was like, well, this like a comic book can be anything, you know.
Yes.
Uh, it doesn't have to be a specific certain thing, a certain genre or a certain look. Um, and that's when comic books changed for me. I've read a lot of manga as well over the years, and I really enjoy a lot of manga. But I don't think they influence my art as much as I think they do. I hope they influence like my storytelling.
Yeah.
I don't know, but um, I don't know. Influences is a tough thing. I have like I'm really bad with names, so like authors or anything like that. I'm just like, well, you know, I don't know those people, but I like their comic book, you
Yeah.
know. Um, uh, but yeah, could you answer like could you say like what is like the one or two most important things that you took from the 100-day challenge? Maybe even your
The
last one. Like what are the things that you feel like you learned the most by doing the challenge?
um well, as I said before, like I'm definitely someone who's always had projects that he's been working on, whether it was like painting or writing or making like learning how to make a video game and then getting into comics. The thing that it taught me the most was actually finishing something, like actually having an end date, and actually instead of occasionally talking about it with someone in the pub, you know, like, oh yeah, like I do this in my spare time. It's like to constantly from the very beginning put everything out for everyone to see. So the thing it really taught me was to open up and to be like this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it, and you can follow along, and I can totally be held accountable. Like if I don't live up to the expectations that I'm setting in these videos, or I'm changing my mind and all of a sudden it's a completely different thing, or just outright failing, you know. Like I definitely had a moment in my first 100 where I just like all this stuff started happening in my life and all of a sudden like I just couldn't cope and I just had to stop for a moment, you know. And that's how I end up ultimately moving to Spain, you know. So yeah, a lot of people have had like a serious moment in their 100 days.
That's
So
I mean 100%. I think that's what people want to hear about too. Is like, well, what was the toughest day that you went through on that 100 days? Um,
well, for me,
like,
it was like a perfect storm. So it was
oh,
really just
really?
like, yeah. I mean, it was like I was losing my job. The landlady said, I'm going to sell the place, so you guys all have to move out. You know, like,
Dude, I remember that. I
uh,
remember that. Yeah, yeah.
I had paid off my student loan. Oh no, wait, I had paid off my credit card. And I'm like, yes, I finally did it. I paid off this stupid credit card. And then literally like 2 months later, like I got a knock on the door from my brother, and it's like, oh yeah, like the Dutch government wants their student loan money back. And I'm like, what? Oh, right, yes, I conveniently forgot about that. You know, and so all of a sudden I'm saddled with another debt of like thousands that I'm like,
Jeez.
but I'm out of a job and I have to look for a new house, you know, and it was all those things at once. So I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore, you know. And then when I got the invite from a very good friend, like, why don't you come to Barcelona, hang out? I'm like, hanging out sounds good, you know. And then I left. I went to Spain, finished the first 100 days run there, and I managed to get the bare minimum that I originally set out to do, which was, you know, of course I wanted to finish a whole comic book, and I'm like, well, at the bare minimum, I should be able to get 10 pages done for you to read. And I did that. I got 10 pages out, and those are the first 10 pages then I put up on Gumroad, you know, which is now Phosphor issue 0. So I did it. Like, but that was like, you know, the heavy stuff. But the biggest thing I learned from it was to set my own deadlines and to keep myself accountable by presenting it to other people. But the truth is, especially when you start out on YouTube, like no one's watching, like no one's really, like, you know, like you got a handful of people, but like you start out with this like, well, no one's really watching, but it's kind of like a very nice safe space, you know. So I think we should actually count ourselves fortunate, especially if you're shy or not comfortable being on camera. Like, you know, like it was hard enough putting myself on camera, but then the fact that no one was watching is like that. Well, that's kind of depressing. That's kind of nice. You know, it's kind of
And then
nice. Like no one is tearing you down while you're just taking your first steps into this, you know, onto a stage, which is just, you know, in the palm of your hand, really, because you're just talking to your hand all the time. So
and then you
yeah,
had this crazy guy named Clay like find one of your videos, and ever since then like would just like type away after each one of your videos. That's what I feel.
But I've done that. So
oh, good.
yeah.
So you know how it is. All right, good.
Yes. No, I've done it totally. Like with Kevin Cross and like with Ox and like with Jeff. Like I've been that person who, like, every video has to say something, like, because I just love watching it. I look forward to watching these videos. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think even though I can't think of a 100-day challenger that I didn't really like, you know, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, even if I don't identify with their art style or anything like that, like at least I can appreciate their like their work ethic, and they're like
they're doing it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is awesome, and it's cool to watch that alone, you know.
Yeah, it's like when you're at the very start. Are you there? Oh, you just popped out. When you're at the very start, you know, like the thought of committing every single day for half an hour feels like such a mountain to climb. So to see other people do that, and also go through the whole social media circus of, like, you know, talking about your stuff every single day, and like, even if you don't put yourself on camera, like, to even just talk about your stuff every single day and to talk about what you've done every single day. You know, especially if you've never been to art school, that is, that's very daunting. So I can totally relate with anyone who does the 100, you know. So it's fun.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Like you helped inspire me to take the 100, so I appreciate you, man. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I don't think I make as good videos as you do, but
no,
like,
you do.
at least I work towards that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, your videos are awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
They're very inventive. Like, you know, like you really mix it up with like just being in the garden or being in your car, and like always like with awesome music. You know, where do you find your music, by the way? Like you always have like these really great tunes. Or
I
you
try
have,
to. I just listen to a lot of Spotify. So
yeah, but you don't
yeah.
get flagged by YouTube.
No, so there's some songs that are copyright like
Yeah,
infringement. Like if you put them in a video, they're copyright infringement. But there's for a lot of music, you can use the music in your video, but it may be monetized by the owner of
yeah,
that song. You know, so it's never been flagged. The thing that you
it
have to
might
worry
take time.
about, yeah, exactly.
It might take time.
Um,
I've had that.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've had it. Like all of a sudden, it's like a year later.
oh,
You
snap.
know, yeah, it's like a year later. Like, oh, that weird Velvet Underground song that you had in the background. Yeah, can't use that.
Well, and that's the one thing that you got to worry about because, like, even if they're allowing you to use it right now,
Yeah,
they can change that at any time.
yeah,
So, but again, nobody's watching my videos, and if it gets flagged and I have to take it down, it's not a big deal. There's
yeah,
99 more videos on my 100-day challenge that you can watch.
yeah.
You know,
That's true.
like, but uh, man, so you put out a little less as far as videos go these days, and I
Yeah.
understand because you're putting in some real work. Like, what's the future for you and the future for Phosphor?
There's some things like I don't know if it's under wrap. I don't want to give away too much because, um,
Oh yeah,
but
there doesn't even be any spoilers or anything like that.
no,
But
no, no. But like, there's definitely some very serious talking with people as to like getting this comic book finished and getting help finishing the comic book. Like the areas where like that I don't know how to do, and getting people on board to help out, and ultimately putting the book out and like getting it to the printer. Hello.
yeah, this is my boy. He wants to say hi. He just got out of the
Hello.
pool. Say what's up? Oh,
Hi.
oh.
How you doing?
This is Yann. Can you say hi, Yann?
What's your
He's like,
name?
this is Dexter, right?
Hey, Dexter.
What is this?
Yeah. We're talking about comic books. Do you like comic books?
Yeah.
You do?
Comics are awesome.
Totally.
Presents we have it's at a park. In a park.
Oh, we're gonna go to the park. That's what he's saying.
Of course, you guys are still in the afternoon.
Yeah, totally. I think, man.
And then I get on the bus going away. I was.
Mm-hmm.
Go get
You're
mom, all
gonna
right? Go
you're
get
gonna
mom.
go grab the bus.
He might have said something about the bus. Yeah. Oh, you want to say hi too? All right. Say hi, and then go upstairs and say hi. Go
Hola.
get mom, all right?
Okay.
Maybe it's
How
a
you doing?
good place to stop it though. Ah. But yeah,
That's funny.
so like the future of your comic book. Sorry for the interruption there.
I don't know why I feel inclined to speak Spanish all of a sudden,
Dude.
but I get confused.
Oh yeah, because Dexter has his own language. You know,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
pretty
I
much.
could I could always speak Dutch to him. That's gonna drive him nuts.
How many languages do you know, man?
Well, I'm Dutch, so I speak Dutch.
Yeah, yeah.
And in Holland, like it's mandatory to learn a number of languages when you grow up. Like you get German, you get French. English is obligatory till the day you leave school. And here I am in Spain, so and my French and German are nowhere near fluent like the way they used to be.
Mm.
It's kind of, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's the thing with languages.
Dude, I
But
barely even know one language, so
yeah,
you
but
got.
it stays in your head though, like because I live abroad.
I didn't like it's a little stuff that's not it's not mama. You be fast car, fast car.
I know I'm a fast talker.
But yeah,
So yeah,
so man, uh,
That is saying it and begin.
You derailed it, dude. You derailed our talk, but I liked it.
Yeah, that is funny, guys.
Yeah. You guys have a Dutch surname, so.
Yeah, we are. I mean,
I know.
yeah, we are Dutch. Long removed. You know. Yeah. Hey, go get mom. I think she has some goodies for you. Ask for a popsicle. Yeah. Jeez, why didn't I think about that earlier? But yeah, but yeah, like the future for you. Sorry about that.
No, it's cool. That's
Like
such a thing from my town. Like in my town, we have this thing like when someone is bugging you, it's like, I can hear your mom calling. She's got cake. They're like, oh, cake.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, they're gone. So, but
I think it's really
Fosphor is getting it printed. So
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Man, I think it's really interesting that you're redrawing pages from just last year or whatever. Like
Yes.
Hey, go get mama. Go get mama. But yeah, getting it printed, I'm super excited to check it out, man. Are you?
Yeah, it's fun. I've got 2 pages here actually.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if I can just hold them up. Like, this one. So this is, I think, page 5 or page 6, I think. But it's like a big fight between 2 characters. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this page per se. It's just that my artist just got a lot tighter. So, this is the exact same scene of just 2 people just walking into each other, and just having a big fight, and like someone recording it. So yeah, it works.
And those are actually redraws of.
This is the reader. This is the.
That was the original.
That's the original, and this is the new one.
Yeah. Man, they look awesome. They look so awesome. I'm stoked, dude. I'm really stoked to check out Fosphor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. Like I always said, like I'm not gonna redraw it. Like I want to finish, like again, like the thing that I learned from the original 100 days I did. Like I want to have that feeling of like actually finishing something. But now that I pretty much have the comic book ready, save for like the last 2 pages. The later pages, like there's such a leap in like I don't even. It's very hard to put my finger on it, like what exactly improved. Like, but everything is just tighter and more clear. And I started using a lot more of the ink rather than just using these pens, which I still love. And you can just physically see it. Like there's a difference in quality with like the rich blacks and everything, and it just kind of bothers me. But the older pages just don't, like, there's just all this stuff missing. And there's one page in particular I've been working on, page 2. I'll just quickly pull that one up. So this page, which has this huge scene of the factory type place, this whole scene, what I actually end up doing it, and this is like another thing that like like that feeling where you draw something and you're actually happy with it. But then you kind of have this feeling like you're pleased with it, and of course like we tend to get dissatisfied and move on to the next thing. But like like when you spend a lot of time on something, like you kind of fall in love with it and like you don't want to touch it because it's that thing that you did. And so with this one, like it was a huge thing where I just took the original page and I just took like one of these really thick pens and I'm like, okay, I'm going to fix this page because I can now see what is wrong with this page. And not that it's a bad drawing, but compared to the art that I draw now, like it's a very subtle thing that I do, like how I've improved. But I just want to fix this now, and I'm gonna do it on the original page. And it was like a huge thing where I'm like not being precious about this old art that I did that that was actually pleased with. Where I'm just like, no, let's just fix it on it. And I added a whole section. This bottom half is literally just another page stuck onto it. Like the original art is just underneath, and I just glued it. And I'm like, we're just drawing the new bottom half, and it's just going to be so much clearer. Like it's the same art, it's the same drawings, but I'm just going to redraw it, and it's just going to be, like you can see what's happening.
That's awesome.
It's a really awesome thing. Like as an artist to revisit your work, to actually have the time to do that. And now I have this 1 month where I'm like, okay, let's for 1 month, like fix up the art and like fix up these pages, and then the next step.
No, dude, I'm excited about that.
So, yeah.
Sorry for the interruption, man. Like
That's okay. He's even wearing orange.
Yeah.
That's a Dutch color, man.
Oh, really? Dude, this is my favorite color. That's weird.
Yeah, it's the House of Orange is the actual name of the royal family.
Oh, really? That's crazy. Hey, is mom getting you a popsicle right now?
Again.
He's like, no, I have something to say.
That's true.
He's even like, this is my show now.
That's true.
But man, Yann, all right.
It's a bust.
Something like that.
He said no.
Here.
He said no.
Can you say bye to Yann?
Bye.
Bye. You gonna go?
No, somebody. Hey,
Okay.
it is on the bus and I
I do live in Barcelona. That's right.
It's like you guessed.
I get a bus in there.
Barcelona.
Yeah. In Spain.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can you say? Hey, can you say Fosphor is awesome?
Fosphor is awesome.
I might put that on the comic.
Yeah, comment.
Like approved.
Comment.
Dexter approved.
Yeah, something else says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she never get us outside. Miss Mama says go away a chalk. It says Mama joining a chalk race.
A truck race outside right now?
Yeah, I think I got a bus and I got
You could talk all day, man. We would have an 8-hour cast here.
And an 8-hour cast.
Yeah. He's 4.
Dexter
You're
approved.
4.
Is that
You're
that
4.
many? Is that many?
Yeah.
Got it.
Is that I got 4.
4?
But I think that's my cue. I gotta go watch the kids.
Watch the kids.
But yeah, man, I wanted to thank you for taking the time out to talk with me, dude.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm super excited. And like any Phosphor news, like I gobble up. So I'm really excited. To get that comic book in my hands, huh?
It's coming. And anyone watching, don't forget, if you are going to run off.
Stop.
No. I have to tell you.
Stop.
No, he's got to tell you.
We still got the Werewolves and Unicorns Kickstarter going on for the last 12 hours right now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Man, I should have plugged that way earlier. Should have plugged that way earlier.
You could pay forward.
Yeah, I said it once. You gotta eat once bag.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Yeah, but if you did it once, that doesn't mean this comic book is no good.
Yes.
Okay, can you say bye? Can you say bye, buddy? Oh.
Nah.
It's like, I'm not falling for that one.
But yeah, say, hey, we'll talk to you later.
I just want to go to the bus. You're going to the nest.
We could.
Yeah, but they got the bus and they are the we got the mount.
But yeah, man.
So yes, this is the 100 days of keeping Clayton on his toes.
Yeah, Clayton, look at the Clayton go over the way. It's also the fires of the fire
But yeah, we better head to the park. Do you think we should go to the park?
Let's go to the park and stop it.
Hey, do you want to go? Buddy.
Because I can't stop it.
Hey, do you want to go to the park?
No, it
All right, let's go anyways, okay?
it's not.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
I want to talk.
You want to talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here. We can talk.
Okay. I think that's enough. We've kept you on the line too long. Yeah? Yeah?
Is he sure?
Yes, that's sure. Yeah,
Totally
that's the way I think I'm going to you got a 465. What is
We
that?
will get going, or else
That's okay.
we're gonna have a long cast. But yeah, I want to talk to you again, especially like
Let's go.
when you hit Phosphor, and
Of course.
you're ready to take my money, because you could have all. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. You could have a lot of it.
The best. You got to do the best. Stop.
But yeah, say take it easy.
No,
Hey,
wait.
Dexter.
Say see you later.
Hey,
talk.
That's all right. We gotta get going, I think.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So you're gonna be back next time?
Yes,
Next time it'll be the Dexter show. Yeah.
It could be.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah,
We can talk about the park and the trucks.
Yes, there will be a truck. The truck.
The truck.
Yeah, we truck. That is very good by yourself. Is that is that talk way? Is that also is that chest and this one is storm.
all right, buddy. All right, buddy. Say see you next time.
I don't know what they're talking.
We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you later, though, dude.
They talk.
We'll see.
I'll message you. But yeah, I hope you have a good night and a good weekend coming up, man.
You too. Thanks for having me on. And
yeah.
Just hit me up, and then we'll hang out some other time.
That'd be dope, dude.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
I'll ask you the
I don't know.
Maybe
But yeah, we'll
ask
see.
some questions.
I believe that. I'm just not. I'll have to practice answering them. Yeah.
That's okay. You can fail on the air.
Dexter, I'll just do like a Q&A with Dexter. He'll put me on the hot spot. Yeah, he'll put me on the hot seat and ask the tough questions, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
yeah, man, I hope you have a good one.
I will. I'm gonna keep drawing right now. So.
Dope. I'm gonna get started too. So. Okay.
Go.
Say see you later. Can you go like this?
No,
see you later.
No, I talk.
No, we're gonna go.
No, I talk.
Take it easy, Yann.
Everything against the talk.
Bye, everyone.
There's the talk.